Eagles are important birds. They help keep everything in balance. But there's a big issue they're facing: lead poisoning. It's usually caused by stuff like bullets. And it's not just a problem for eagles, but for lots of other birds too. Here, we're going to dive into how lead is bad for eagles, check out what new research tells us about this, and explore what people are doing to help these birds. Eagles are like the bosses of hunting, sitting right at the top of the food chain. They're super important for keeping the environment in good shape, like controlling the population of other animals and cleaning up the ones that die. Eagles aren't just strong. They're key players in keeping nature balanced. But there's a big problem with lead poisoning. This lead can come from lots of places, often from bullets or fishing gear. When eagles eat animals that have been shot or fish that have swallowed lead, they can get sick. This lead messes up their bodies. It can make it tough for them to fly, hunt, or even stay alive. Scientists have been looking into this for a long time. A while back, they started noticing that a lot of birds, eagles included, were getting sick or dying. Since then, there's been a bunch of research to figure out exactly how lead impacts them and what we can do to help these important birds. Before we continue, please consider subscribing. So, there was this study in 2021 by Hampton and their team that focused on eagles in Australia. They were curious about how much lead these eagles had in their bones. They used this cool gadget called a portable X-ray fluorescence. It's kind of like a special scanner that checks how much lead is in the bones without having to hurt the eagle or take a sample. What they found was a bit worrying. Many Australian eagles have way too much lead in their bodies. This is a big deal because it can make them sick or even cause death. The neat part about this study is the way they used that portable scanner. It's a fast and harmless way to test for lead, and it's safe for the birds. This research is super important. It shows us that lead poisoning is a major issue for eagles, not just in Australia, but all around the world. Similar studies in other countries are finding the same problem. Eagles are eating animals that have lead in them, and it's making them ill. Lead poisoning is tough on eagles in a bunch of ways. First off, it messes with their nerves. This can make it hard for eagles to fly or catch their food because their muscles and coordination get all wonky. Plus, lead can mess up their brains, making them act weird or not notice danger. Another big problem is that lead can make it hard for eagles to have babies. This means not as many baby eagles are being born, or their eggs aren't hatching right. If this keeps up, we'll end up with fewer eagles out in the wild. And it's not just the eagles that suffer. If there aren't enough eagles, it can throw off the balance of the whole environment. Eagles are important for keeping other animals like rodents or fish in check. Without enough eagles, these animals might start to overpopulate, which can lead to more issues in nature. To tackle the lead poisoning issue in eagles, folks are trying out a few solutions. A major one is switching to bullets and fishing gear that don't contain lead. If we use stuff without lead, we can prevent eagles from swallowing it in the first place. Another approach is to look after eagles that get sick from lead. Wildlife centers treat these eagles, nurse them back to health, and then release them back into the wild. This is super helpful, but it only works for eagles that are found and brought in for treatment. There's also a push for laws and policies to keep eagles safe from lead. Some areas have rules about using lead-free bullets, especially where eagles are around. These laws are a great step, but they're most effective when people understand why they're important and follow them. Looking ahead, it's key to involve more people. This means educating folks, like hunters and fishermen, about why using lead-free gear is better for eagles and the environment. Community programs can help spread this message and make a bigger impact. So protecting eagles from lead poisoning involves a mix of new regulations, caring for sick eagles, and making sure people know why this matters. It's a team effort to keep these magnificent birds safe. Tackling lead poisoning in eagles is pretty tricky and comes with its own set of challenges. Politically, it's not always easy to make and enforce laws about using non-lead ammo. There's a lot of disagreement about these rules, and sometimes getting them passed is a real struggle. Then there's the money side of things. Non-lead bullets and fishing gear can be expensive, which is tough for hunters and fishermen on a budget. Plus, companies that make lead ammo might resist changes because it could hit their bottom line. Socially, it's a bit of a hurdle too. For a lot of folks, hunting and fishing are long-standing traditions, and switching up their gear isn't always welcome. Some might not get why it's important and don't want to change. Subscribe if you liked the video, and there's another one showing on the screen.